All right, everybody. So we have Bob Gillespie, the head of the Reach commercial program. And we thought up here in Reach Canada it'd be awesome to get a little quick take on the new cohort, the 2020 cohort that came through. So thanks for coming on, Bob. And I'll pass it over to Lynette. Lynette, you want to take it and let's talk about the first company, Lynette. Who are we looking at?
Awesome. So I love it, Bob. I love the diversity of the companies that you guys brought into the commercial program this year. Everything from soup to nuts. So let's kick it off with Occupier. Tell us a bit about Occupier and what solution they're bringing to market.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Real excited about your program launching as well. I think you guys know last year was Reach Commercial's first year. So it's our second year. You guys are going into your first. It's exciting. Great group of great classes this year. Occupier, New York-based company. They provide lease management and transaction management tools for both businesses and brokers. So clients that they have are some of the biggest brokerage teams, JLL, CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield. And then they have tenants who are really looking to effectively manage their space. That's really what Occupier does, is that, not that our companies are COVID companies, but for instance, with COVID changing lease footprints, they work with companies like Indeed and DocuSign and DraftKings to allow them to put emphasis on how brokers and how these companies can centralize the deal process to most effectively manage their physical space of their leases so they can either grow or downsize or optimize. Probably the best thing about them, really, really good, strong leadership team that has done this before and created a very large company in the commercial real estate space already. So super strong team, working with both brokers, which plays to NAR very well, and then to the leaseholder. So super excited about Occupier.
Wicked. I'm going to take the next one because I am a foodie. So this one goes after my heartstrings. Tell me about Pear Chef. This is a cool
Pear Chef, very cool Chicago company. Danielle Drabkin is the CEO there. She saw the amenity war going on in multifamily housing and realized that one thing that multifamily housing, there's all kinds of apps, tenant experience apps, but she really honed in on, and this is wonderful. I wish I lived in one of her buildings. They provide private chef service to a multifamily housing complex. So you come home to your Class A property, and you want not a food delivered in a brown bag. You want
no TV dinner.
A TV dinner, or I get my my bar and grill that brings me stuff in a brown bag, which I enjoy. But they have on-site prepared culinary experiences for multifamily buildings. So virtual cooking classes, meal drop-offs. They also do experiential things like holiday parties. They're looking to expand. They're in Chicago right now, looking to expand it in new markets. And they're also starting to partner with, during COVID, they're partnering with chefs like Rick Bayless now to, like Frontera in Chicago, to provide those meals in multifamily housing buildings. So it's a multifamily housing chef service. They've grown super fast in 3 years. I was talking to Danielle when it was just an idea, and we were lucky enough this year to get them to come into the cohort.
There's no excuse not to have a dinner party in Chicago.
Yeah, great company.
Exactly. Just note to self, if I move to Chicago, hunt down one of those buildings. Totally.
Get in a Pear Chef building.
Super. That's amazing. So next company, EPR Squared. This is really kind of cool because from maybe even a North American perspective, there isn't generally a lot of focus on technology and sustainability, and EPR Squared is kind of in that realm. So excited to hear about them.
Absolutely. The big problem with trying to go to renewable energy or solar is the cost. Operators don't want to incur the cost. Even if you can show them that there's ROI, it's just not part of their core business. But what EPR Squared has done is they've solved two problems. One, they invest and develop the on-site solar and renewable project for the commercial property. So they're doing all of that, which will increase the property income because you're generating energy, you're saving on energy, and you can also sell that energy back into the grid. And the second part is they finance the whole thing. So what they've done is that they have created about a $50 million facility from outside capital resources where they can both manage and finance the renewable project in your commercial space, so you have no upfront costs and you get all the benefits to not only make some money, but also, sustainability, stop killing the earth, doing amazing things while making money, which is the best of both worlds. They're a great company out of Los Angeles.
So not only, I mean, this is probably one of the most unique business models I've seen from a tech startup, is they're actually in the business of not just looking for capital, but actually providing capital, which is very cool as well.
Right. And the thing about them, and I think you guys will see this in Canada, is, they had applied last year and we thought they were too early because they had the idea, and, Chris, the CEO, is he's literally a brilliant man. He had the idea, and they had the beginnings of some projects, but they didn't have the facility and they hadn't completed any projects. So they made our final list last year, but they were probably they were like the last company to not make the cut, because we felt they were just a little too early, but we loved it. So this year, when we opened up the applications, we called him and said, "Hey, Chris, can you give us an update?" And now that they've done projects and they've got the facility in place, it was a no-brainer bring them in, because now they're at the exact right place to be able to roll them out through all of our contacts at NAR and really scale them up based off of their increase in the stage of their company. And now they're ready to take advantage of the NAR relationship. So
love that.
For anybody watching this, get rejected, or if you don't get in the first year, very often that doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that you're early, and we'll look at you again. We've had companies all the time that apply over multiple years and will make it on their second or third try.
Rejection is such a harsh word. I feel like it's try again. It's like the try again in a video game, right?
Yeah, that's true. But the companies that are, we love when somebody comes back to us and says, they don't take it personally, and they take that coaching and say, and I always say, you're not competing if your idea is a good idea. That's not the discussion. You wouldn't get to the interview portion of our application process if it wasn't a good idea. We only have so many slots, and maybe there's, if we take 8 companies or 6 companies, maybe those are just a little further along than you, and maybe you just need a little more, traction before we can really, plug you in to take advantage. So I always think when we tell somebody it's never a no, it's a not yet.
Yeah, not right now. And the other thing that I love is it keeps the conversation alive with them, right? And it's where you have the opportunity to really decide when the fit is right.
Absolutely. So love the companies that follow up and put me on their quarterly list and send me a quarterly update and keeps me updated. Keeps me on their radar, shows me their progress, shows me also that they're being professional entrepreneurs, and then we can have that follow-on discussion.
Which is exactly what we love to see. And just taking us back onto this then, speaking of another awesome idea, but really it's all about the execution with this next one. It's real-time risk solutions. So, being able to do risk management, but really the big hurdle for a lot of these companies is getting that insight behind with the actual the experience for the end user, right? And actually fulfilling that and building that whole experience. So maybe I'd love to hear your take on real-time.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, real-time is a company that I've known about since 2016 or 17. Don't remember which year they were in, but back, so prior to Reach Commercial, I was running a accelerator called Elm Spring that then was acquired by Second Century Ventures, and then that turned into Reach Commercial. So Real-Time Risk Solutions was one of my companies at Elm Spring, and now they were very early when we took them back in 2016 or 17. And now they've come far enough where now we've folded them into the Reach Commercial of 2020. So you can see that they've made a lot of progress. What they do is it's a risk management platform with analytics. So if you think about it, and they're across industries. So they mainly sell to insurers, but they could also sell to really any business that wants to manage risks. They have created an app generator that basically generates best practices for any industry, and then walks you through those best practices and making sure that you're adherent to them. And then the analytic play is they can start to do things like tell you that it's probably about time that you might have an accident because of the big data analytics of how often that happens. So you might want to make sure you're doing these things to avoid an on-site accident. So they do things in construction, they do things in real estate management, insurance. So they're across a lot of verticals. And you're right. It's one of those that takes a long time because you have to build that data. You have to build those best practices. You have to build the analytics. And they do it all now in real time. And they've really hit their stride. They've in the beginning with that kind of company, you're going to be spending a lot of money to build your application. And what they did is they built the app, and now they're onboarding clients, and they've already started to turn cash flow positive. And now they're really ready to scale. They just joined our accelerator now because they see a big opportunity in commercial real estate risk management. Simple thing. Like when somebody, example, because people have a hard time wrapping their head around what does risk management mean. For instance, when a tenant would leave your building, they left. That's great. And you got to clean their apartment and do things. But did you get their keys? Did you get their access cards? Did you get their parking pass? Did you get the code? Did you change the code on the parking gate? Are all the access codes turned off for that person? You don't want an ex-tenant be able to come back into your place. It sounds simplistic, but unless you have that sort of checklist on all the things that you need to do, you're going to forget something. And they've built an app that walks you through that and then also quantifies the risk and also lets you know if you're not doing these things, what kind of impacts that could have your business. That's why insurers love them, because if you're using real-time risk solutions, your premiums would drop. So They partner with insurance companies for distribution as well.
I love that. And I think, this is going to flow a little bit into the next company, but one of the things that really, I think the Reach commercial program is addressing is kind of bridging that gap between the way commercial real estate has typically been transacted and consumed, and advancing the conversation in terms of how the consumer is demanding to consume real estate now. So thinking about all of those things which seem really simplistic, but you have landlords that have really evolved over the last couple of decades as landlords, where a consuming population simply wants to consume their home ownership in a very, very different way. And so I love that, Risk Management Solutions is addressing that. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, so is Delius addressing kind of that same kind of gap mechanism that exists in the market. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what they are doing to bring solutions to the space.
Sure. So Delius, once again, these guys are it's two brothers. Obi and Iyat they started Delius, and then also Delius Capital. So they're brokers, and what they saw is that there is a real disconnect on managing brokerages. All the back office stuff is a nightmare. Paying your commissions is a nightmare. Deal tracking is a train wreck. All that back end office stuff is unpleasant at best. So somebody said this to me today when I was discussing Delius with them. They said, oh, so these guys are really experienced brokers who had a great idea to fix a problem. And instead of just keeping on being brokers, they actually quit their job and then went and fixed it. And that's what they did. So
seems reasonable.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what they did is they've created a platform essentially that allows people to basically manage your brokerage end to end, which now in particular with the way that things are changing with remote work, not just COVID, but remote work and non-centralized work, they can execute on businesses remotely and allow them to run a geographically dispersed brokerage using Delius tools. So they've started onboarding a ton of customers already. They've already started onboard some large national corporate accounts here in April and May. So once they had and they have this large population of customers that are using their tool to manage the brokerage, they also have a sister company called Delius Capital. And what that does is that provides capital, which is a little bit what we talked about earlier with EPR squared, is that they expand their platform, which provides working capital loans to brokerages by leveraging their existing leasing accounts receivable. Very cool. Essentially, instead of going to a bank or taking out, disadvantageous terms for working capital, you're already utilizing Leasera's tool. Now you can go to them, to factor your leasing AR and grow your business with something that you already have. Why are you going to another facility? You can do it right inside of Delius's platform through Delius Capital. So they created a separate entity. So we were so excited about Delius that we made the offer to them. And then as we were discussing it, February, March, April, into our program, they started saying, hey, we just want to let you know that we also have this Delius Capital, and we don't want to get it in the way of the Delius deal. And we're like, whoa, wait a second. It's not in the way.
Let's bring it along.
Bring it in. So we made the investment and brought that in. So we treat them as two separate companies inside of our accelerator. So that one was a kind of a 2-for-1. Once again, very experienced team, already have traction. The facility's already funded, and they're continuing to work on creating a larger facility. But those are the companies that I love. Experienced founders, known problem, big market.
Yeah.
And then the capital facility just will make it even that much more impactful. But actually, they'll make more money, I think, on Delius Capital than they do on Delius.
It's always a way. And, it's so interesting because you see those more of niche financing mechanisms, especially on the tech side. You see a lot of SaaS financing plays, right? So this is a very similar thing, but in the brokerage community, where it's the business terms much better, so you can finance, underwrite it a little bit better. But going back to what you said before, Delius really focusing on that disaggregated back end side to the next company with Lycera, it's almost like they've gone to the front end and really built that idea that I've heard countless times of people saying they want to build, where it's, the renter, the tenant has this thing where they get points, and it's built into this integrated CRM with the property manager, and everybody it's a great idea, but I'm like, well, who's going to execute? And then I see Lycera, and it looks like they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, this one actually, and you guys will find this in Canada, some of your best companies will come from the prior year's cohort telling you, hey, we love the program. Reach Commercial is a great program. There's a company in Seattle, this is a Seattle-based company, that we think you guys should look at and you should get into your program. That's how we found out about Lycera. So that's a powerful thing when people start to make those connections for you in your network, because they want their colleagues to go through the program that they went through. So Lycera, what they do is, I've seen a lot of these sort of tenant engagement applications where I move in your building and I download an application, and now I can, I have a package and I know that happened, and I can pay my rent, and I can report that my, air conditioner's not working or whatever. There's a lot of those, and I think that they're important. There's some very good companies that do that. Lycera, I think, has taken it one step further in the fact that they have that sort of tenant engagement app, but they want to become a lifetime tool of that tenant. What they don't want is the Mike moves into a building and you use their app, and then you move, and now you no longer have the need for that app. Well, heck, they just got you to be a user and you love it. So why aren't they going to engage you and make you a Lycera customer for life? So what they can do is, first of all, for your tenant engagement app, you can do things like, you can pay your rent, and you can put in help tickets, and you can be notified you have a package. It does all those things, but you can also do things like order an Uber and get points, and you can use those points cool. on your vacation for a hotel, or order dog walking service, or Pear Chef, which is one of our earlier companies. If Pear is in the building and Lycera is in the building, you've got this app of amenities, and you can engage through Lycera. But I think the real magic actually happens when Lycera really becomes the connector, and the empowers you to engage going forward, not just when you're part of that app. So really, it's about redemptions and loyalty and having a lifelong customer. I'm assuming that when Lycera continues to be successful, that they'll do things like, oh, you're now not going to rent anymore and you're going to buy a home. Terrific. Would you like to get your homeowner's insurance through us? Would you like to get a mortgage, get connected to a mortgage broker, to a real estate agent? They can really capture the value chain throughout sort of property, not just leasing. And that was the thing that attracted me to it, was sort of this grander vision of, once we have you as a customer, we want to keep you as a customer forever, not just in that building. And I thought that was a really interesting take on things.
I really love that. And I think it one of the things Mike and I talk a lot about in terms of building our first cohort here in Canada is how we create synergies amongst the companies. And, so this, I think, is a really nice tie-in to the last company that's in the portfolio this year, which is OBCRE. And, where Lycera is really about the individual managing their own personal sort of property portfolio of how do I want to experience this current property, but then how do I take that app or take this experience with Lycera and move it along with me, right? That's kind of the issue Lycera is trying to solve with the person. OBI is something similar from a portfolio management point of view for investors and property owners. And, I could see a world where those two things beautifully kind of collide because, because the property owners want to know as much about how people are consuming their own properties as the individual wants to know about curating their property, right? So you can definitely see some cross application there where they still have very distinct lanes to run in. But let's hear a little bit more about OBCRE and what they're trying to accomplish from sort of that portfolio management point of view, as opposed to an individual property management point of view.
Sure. So OBCRE, once again, a Chicago-based company, guys I've been talking to them for about a year. I found out about them late last year. We had already had our 2019 class in, and they were very much on my short list to get in this year. So OBCRE is an insurance and portfolio management platform for small and medium-sized commercial real estate owners and investors. So where Occupier, for instance, earlier, they're working with the broker and the leaseholder of the office space, for instance, or the industrial space. That's what Occupier does. Delius is dealing with the energy of that property. What OBCRE is doing is they're working with the owner-operators of real estate to manage their portfolio of assets. So it's a portfolio asset management tool. And really what they're doing is they're acquiring users through their portfolio asset tool, which is there's a lot of competition there, but then the way that they are differentiating and monetizing is that then they sell services to those owner operators that they desperately need. So they've started with insurance. So commercial real estate insurance. So what they do is when you're already inside of their portfolio management platform, they can make offers to you about insurance quotes. You can evaluate different options for insurance. And then right inside their tool, you can bind coverage, and then you can manage the ongoing risk. So once again, it's sort of the foot in the door, and then be able to offer ancillary services on top of that. They're growing very fast, very quick customer acquisition. And one of the big keys is, getting commercial insurance is a pain in the butt, and it takes a long time. So they're able to, because they've streamlined it, they can basically get you a quote in less than 3 days, and will typically sell that, or be able to bind that coverage and get the insured, the property owner who needs the insurance, about a 15% less quote than they would get in the market. So awesome. It's a win in both speed and economics.
Very cool. So good. We're so excited about both the Reach commercial class that's just been announced. So thank you, Bob, for doing this, but also the Reach core class. And I can't wait to see how we can add synergy when we get our own cohort here in Canada up and running, and continue to build on the amazing value of real estate technology that the Reach family is supporting. So thanks for taking the time today. Really appreciate it, Bob. We hope everybody has find some value out of understanding a bit more about the portfolio and where they fit in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, we look forward to working with you guys. We've got Reach Australia and Reach UK and Reach Commercial and Reach Core and Reach Canada. And we're all one family, right? I've known you guys, been working with you guys for quite a while, and there'll be a lot of synergies, a lot of overlaps. You're going to have companies in Canada that we can, plug in down here. We'll have companies that can partner with the companies that you bring in. Very exciting. I couldn't be more. This class this year is excellent. Really looking forward. I already know some of your short list. I know you guys already have wonderful candidates. and looking forward to continue working with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.